Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in today. I am Tom, and I am here with the wonderful Ria. How are you doing today, Ria?
I am doing fantastic, Tom. Honestly, I'm feeling really energized because I know what we are going to talk about today, and it is a topic that is so close to my heart. It is something I struggle with, something I love, and something I think every single English learner needs to hear.
I completely agree. We talk a lot about grammar, we talk about vocabulary, and we talk about pronunciation. But there's this invisible engine that drives all of that. If you do not have this one thing, the best textbooks in the world cannot help you.
Exactly. You can have the best teacher, the best app, and the perfect plan, but if you cannot get yourself to actually sit down and do the work, none of it matters. So, Tom, tell everyone what is on the menu today.
Today, we are diving deep into the psychology of success. We're talking about self-discipline. But wait, before you turn off the podcast thinking this is going to be a boring lecture about rules, please stay with us because Ria and I were just talking before we started recording, and we realized that self-discipline is actually usually misunderstood.
It really is. When I used to hear the word discipline, I would think of a military boot camp. I would think of someone yelling at me or waking up at 4 in the morning to run in the freezing rain. It sounded painful. It sounded like punishment.
That is such a common image. We think discipline means suffering. We think it means doing things we hate. But in the context of learning English, or really achieving anything great in life, discipline is actually a form of self-love.
I love that perspective. Self-love. Can you explain that a bit more? Because usually when I want to love myself, I eat chocolate and watch movies. That feels like love. Discipline feels like the opposite.
That's the trap. That's what we call comfort. And comfort is great, we need to relax, but think about the version of Ria 5 years from now. If the Ria of today studies English for 30 minutes, even when she's tired, the Ria of the future gets to have a better job, gets to travel with confidence, and feels proud. So discipline is really just caring about your future self more than your present feelings.
Wow, that's actually really powerful. It's like giving a gift to the future version of yourself. But Tom, let's be real for a second. It is so hard. Why is it so hard? I mean, I know I should study. I know I should listen to a podcast. But I come home from work, I'm exhausted, my brain is fried, and the last thing I want to do is focus on irregular verbs.
You're not alone, Ria. I think every single person listening right now is nodding their head. The reason it is hard is that we're constantly waiting for motivation. We think that successful people have this magical energy source where they always feel excited to work, but that's a lie.
So you're saying that even the people who speak perfect English, who seem so dedicated, they don't actually want to study every day?
Absolutely not. Nobody wants to work hard every single day. The difference between the successful learner and the one who gives up is not motivation, it's discipline. Motivation is an emotion. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days it's sunny and you feel like you can conquer the world. Other days it's raining and you just want to sleep. If you only study on the sunny days, you'll never reach fluency.
That is such a good analogy. I think I've been guilty of relying on the weather, so to speak. I start a new course, and for the first week, I'm on fire. I'm doing 2 hours a day, I'm writing notes, I'm feeling great. And then week 2 hits, life gets busy, and suddenly I miss one day. Then I miss 2 days, and then I feel guilty, so I just stop completely.
The guilt spiral. That's the worst. It's fascinating how our brains work. We miss one day, and instead of just saying, okay, I'll get back to it tomorrow, we tell ourselves that we failed. We tell ourselves that we're not good enough.
Yes, we are so dramatic about it. We think, oh well, I ruined my streak, so I might as well give up. It's like dropping your phone on the ground and then deciding to smash it with a hammer because it already has a scratch. It makes no sense, but we do it with our habits.
That's a hilarious image, smashing the phone because of a scratch. But it's true. So how do we fix this? How do we move from this roller coaster of motivation to a steady road of discipline? I think it starts with making the task too small to fail.
Too small to fail? What does that mean?
Well, you mentioned studying for 2 hours a day when you were motivated. That's huge. That's a massive commitment. When you're tired, 2 hours feels like climbing a mountain. But what if your goal was just 5 minutes?
5 minutes? But Tom, can you really learn English in 5 minutes? That sounds like it is not enough.
Here's the secret. The goal of the 5 minutes is not to become fluent in one day. The goal is to establish the habit of showing up. It is about identity. If you study for 5 minutes every single day, you are proving to yourself that you are the kind of person who studies. You are voting for that identity. And usually, once you start, you end up doing more than 5 minutes anyway. The hardest part is just opening the book.
That is so true. Getting off the sofa is the hardest physical movement I make all day. Once I'm actually up and doing the dishes or whatever, it's fine. It's the mental resistance right before the action. So you're saying we should lower the bar.
Drastically lower the bar. If you aim for perfection, you will quit. If you aim for consistency, you will win. I want to ask you, Ria, have you ever had a time in your life where you forced yourself to do something small every day and saw a big result later?
Actually, yes. It was not with English, but it was with walking. A few years ago, I wanted to get fit, but I hated the gym. So I just promised myself I would walk for 15 minutes during my lunch break. Just 15 minutes. It felt pointless at first. But after a month, I felt better. Then I started walking for 30 minutes. Then I started jogging a little bit. A year later, I ran a 5K race. But if I had tried to run that race on day one, I would have quit instantly.
That is a perfect example. You built momentum. English is exactly the same. We have listeners who want to speak like a native speaker immediately. They get frustrated when they make mistakes. But discipline is about falling in love with the process, not just the result. It's about showing up to do your 15 minutes of listening or reading one page of a book and trusting that the result will come.
I think another thing that stops us is distraction. We live in such a noisy world. I sit down to study English and then my phone buzzes. Someone liked my photo or I get an email. And suddenly 20 minutes have passed and I'm scrolling through social media. How does discipline help with that?
Distraction is the enemy of depth. Real learning requires focus. Discipline here means creating an environment where you cannot fail. It's not just willpower. Willpower is like a battery. It runs out. If you have your phone right next to your textbook, you're using your willpower to resist looking at it. Eventually, you will look.
So we need to remove the temptation.
Exactly. Put the phone in another room. Turn off the internet if you don't need it. Make it easier to do the right thing and harder to do the wrong thing. If you want to practice English in the morning, put your book on your pillow before you go to sleep, so when you wake up, it's the first thing you see. You are designing your life for success.
I love that. Designing your life. It makes it sound creative, not restrictive. Tom, there's an emotional side to this too. Sometimes I think people lack discipline because they're afraid.
Afraid of what?
Afraid of looking stupid, afraid of trying hard and still failing. I've spoken to students who say they avoid speaking practice not because they're lazy, but because it gives them anxiety. So they procrastinate. They study grammar rules alone in their room because it feels safe, but they lack the discipline to put themselves out there and speak.
That is such a deep insight, Ria. Procrastination is often just fear in disguise. We delay doing the thing that scares us. But this brings us back to what we said earlier. Discipline is self-love. If you love yourself, you have to let yourself make mistakes. You have to be okay with being imperfect.
It's about being brave, isn't it? Discipline is a form of bravery. It's brave to say, I am going to try to speak English today, even if I mess up the grammar. It's brave to record your voice and listen to it, even if you cringe.
Yes, the cringe is growth. If you listen to yourself and you cringe, that means you know how to get better. If you never do the hard things, you stay in the same place. There's a quote I love, and I'm probably going to paraphrase it, but it says, there are two types of pain in life, the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons.
Oh, I have chills. That's heavy. The pain of regret weighs tons? I can visualize that. Imagine getting to the end of the year and realizing you're exactly where you started. You didn't improve. That's a heavy feeling.
It's the worst feeling. But the pain of discipline, what is it really? It's just a moment of discomfort. It's just saying no to Netflix for 30 minutes. It's just feeling a little bit awkward while you practice pronunciation. It's a tiny price to pay for the freedom you get later.
Freedom, that is the word. We think discipline is a cage, but it is actually the key to the cage. If you are disciplined with your English, you gain the freedom to travel, the freedom to work internationally, the freedom to understand movies and songs. It opens the world.
Precisely. So let's get practical for our listeners. We have talked about the philosophy, but how does someone start today? Let's say someone is listening to this on the bus or while cooking. They want to be more disciplined. What is step one?
I think step one is to find your deep why. We talked about this before, but it has to be emotional. If your reason for learning English is just because I should, that is not strong enough. It has to be something that excites you or scares you.
Right. I want to learn English to get a promotion so I can buy a house for my family. That is a strong why. Or, I want to learn English so I can understand what my favorite actor is really saying. That works too, whatever drives you.
Once you have the why, step two is the when. I think scheduling is so important. If you just say, I will study tomorrow, you won't. You have to say, I will study tomorrow at 7 a.m. while I drink my coffee.
Connecting it to an existing habit is genius. We call that habit stacking. You already drink coffee every morning. You do not need discipline to drink coffee. So if you attach English to the coffee becomes the trigger. Coffee time equals English time.
And step three? I think step three is tracking. I love ticking boxes. There's something so satisfying about marking an X on a calendar.
Visual progress is huge. Get a calendar, put it on your wall. Every day you do your 15 minutes, put a big red X. Your goal is just don't break the chain. After 5 days, you look at those 5 X's and you feel proud. You do not want to see a blank space there.
And if you do break the chain, because we are humans and life happens, what if you get sick?
Then you use the never miss twice rule. Okay, you missed Monday, it happens. Forgive yourself immediately. But you must not miss Tuesday. Missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new bad habit. You have to stop the bleeding instantly.
That is such a compassionate way to look at it. It takes the pressure off perfection. You do not have to be perfect, you just have to be persistent.
Persistent, that is the key. You know, Ria, I want to talk a bit about the boring middle part. Everyone loves the start of the journey and everyone loves the finish line, but the middle is long and often invisible. You study for months and you feel like you are not improving. That's the plateau.
The plateau of despair. I know it well. You're working hard, but your speaking feels the same. You still forget words. It feels like you're walking through mud. This is where most people quit, isn't it?
It is exactly where they quit. And it's tragic because usually the breakthrough is right around the corner. The plateau is actually where the real learning is happening. Your brain is consolidating information. It's like building a muscle. You don't see the muscle growing while you're lifting the weight. You see it later. Discipline is trusting that the growth is happening even when you can't see it.
I remember when I was learning phrasal verbs. I studied them for weeks and I kept mixing them up. I felt so stupid. I thought, I will never get this. I almost stopped. but I just kept reviewing my flashcards purely out of habit. Then one day I was talking to a friend and I just used a phrasal verb naturally without thinking. I surprised myself.
That's the magic moment, when the subconscious takes over. But you only got there because you pushed through the boring days. You didn't stop when it wasn't fun.
So we need to normalize boredom. We need to accept that not every study session will be a party. Some days it's just work, and that's okay.
It's more than okay. It's necessary. If you only do the work when it's exciting, you're a hobbyist. If you do the work when it's boring, you're a professional. And we want our listeners to approach English like professionals.
Tom, I have a question for you. Do you think having a partner helps, like an accountability buddy?
Oh, 100%. We're social creatures. It's very easy to lie to yourself. It's much harder to lie to a friend. If I tell you, Ria, I'm going to read 10 pages this week, and then on Friday you ask me, Tom, did you read? I don't want to tell you no. I want to save face.
Social pressure can be a good thing. So finding a study partner or joining a community can really boost your discipline. You're not just doing it for you, you're doing it for the team.
Exactly. And that's why we encourage our listeners to comment, to share their goals. When you write your goal down in a public place, it becomes real.
Speaking of goals, we should talk about realistic expectations. I think sometimes a lack of discipline comes from being overwhelmed. If a listener is looking at the entire English language, it looks like a giant mountain. It is scary.
Break it down. Do not look at the mountain, look at the stones. Today, you are just moving one stone. Today, you were just learning 5 words about cooking. That is it. That is manageable. Discipline thrives on clarity. If you sit down and say, I'm going to learn English now, that's too vague. Your brain panics. But if you sit down and say, I'm going to listen to this 6-minute audio clip and write down 4 new words, your brain says, okay, I can do that.
Clarity is power. I like that. You know, I also think we should talk about celebrating the small wins. Discipline can feel very dry if there's no reward.
Rewards are essential. The brain needs dopamine. If you finish your week of study, treat yourself. Go to that cafe you like. Watch an episode of your favorite show in your native language without guilt. You earned it. This reinforces the habit loop. Trigger, action, reward.
I used to tell myself, I will reward myself when I am fluent. That is a terrible idea. That's years away. I need a cookie today.
Please do not wait years for the cookie. Eat the cookie today if you did the work. It makes the journey enjoyable. We are trying to build a lifestyle, not just pass a test.
You know, Tom, as we're talking, I'm feeling more motivated myself. It's funny how just discussing discipline makes you want to be more disciplined. It reminds you of your power.
That's the beauty of it. Discipline is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets, and it spills over into other areas of your life. If you become disciplined with English, you might find yourself eating healthier, or keeping your house cleaner, or being more organized at work. It proves to you that you are in control of your actions.
I have definitely noticed that. When I'm good with my language practice, I feel more organized in general. When I slack off, my whole week feels chaotic. It's an anchor.
It is an anchor, and for everyone listening, I want you to imagine yourself 6 months from now. Imagine that you listened to this podcast and you decided to apply just one thing, maybe the 5-minute rule, maybe the never miss twice rule, and you stuck with it. 6 months from now, you could be understanding conversations you currently find impossible. You could be speaking with a flow that feels natural.
Or you could be in exactly the same spot, wishing you had started today. The time will pass anyway. 6 months will come and go. You might as well fill that time with progress.
The time will pass anyway. That is the truth. So, Ria, what is your personal commitment for this week? Let's do it live on air.
Oh, putting me on the spot. Okay, my commitment is I've been putting off reading this one specific article in English because it looks very technical and difficult. It's about climate change. I've been scared of the vocabulary. My commitment is to read just one paragraph a day. Not the whole thing, just one paragraph.
I love it. One paragraph. It's small, it's specific, and it's doable. My commitment is to work on my listening. I'm going to listen to a podcast in my target language while I wash the dishes every night. No dishes without audio.
That's a great rule. Clean plates, sharp brain.
Exactly. Before we wrap up, I want to address the inner voice. We all have that voice in our head that says, I'm too tired or I'm not good at languages. Discipline is learning to talk back to that voice.
Yes, when the voice says, I'm too tired, you say, I can do anything for 5 minutes. When the voice says, I'm not improving, you say, I trust the process. You have to parent yourself. You have to be the adult in the room with your own brain.
Parenting yourself. That's a great way to put it. Sometimes you have to be the strict parent and sometimes the encouraging parent. But you can't be the negligent parent who lets the child do whatever they want.
And you definitely can't be the abusive parent who screams at the child for making a mistake. Be a kind, firm parent to yourself.
This has been such an inspiring conversation, Ria. I feel like I need to go study something right now.
Me too. I'm ready to tackle that article.
To our listeners, we hope this conversation sparked a fire in you. But remember, fire dies out. Discipline is the fuel you add every day to keep the fire burning. Don't rely on the spark. Build the fire.
We really want to hear from you. What's your biggest struggle with discipline? Is it finding time? Is it fear? Is it boredom? Let us know. We're all in this together.
And what is one small promise you can make to yourself today? Not a big one, a small one. Write it down. Tell a friend. Tell us.
Remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep showing up.
Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Time is your most valuable resource, and we appreciate you investing it in your English and in yourself.
Keep practicing, keep making mistakes, and keep moving forward. You've got this.
This has been Real English Voices. I'm Tom.
And I'm Ria.
See you in the next episode.
Bye, everyone.